Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I have a huge fear of insects. It could be spiders, ants, bees, or wasps. Anything with 6 legs or more is a no-go from me. But one insect that really takes the cake when it comes to being horrifying are crickets. Because not only can they jump on the top of your roof and crush it in an instant, but they also chirp. But they don't just chirp normally. Their chirps are deceptive. They use their chirps to taunt you and to trick you. So say you're sitting at a table and you hear a chirp coming from the left corner. You go to the left corner, you look for the cricket, and suddenly the chirp's coming from the right corner. So you sprint over to the right corner and you hear the chirp again. But this time it's coming from behind you. And by the time you're done looking for the cricket, you've burned at least 1,000,001 calories, and you can definitely skip the gym that night. But one day I was at my desk and I was doing my math homework, and I came to a problem that I didn't know how to do. I mean, granted, I didn't know how to do any of them, but this one was especially confusing because it had letters in it. Like, what are letters doing in math? But anyway, out of my confusion, I looked up from my desk and I looked over and I saw a gigantic cricket on the wall. Now, I screamed for at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, give or take a few minutes. When I was done screaming, I looked at the cricket and I realized that that cricket was huge. Now, I know what you're thinking, maybe like this big. No. This cricket was at least 3 Shaquille O'Neals tall. I mean, you know who he is, right? Basketball player, he's about this tall and just as wide, and he's all muscle. I mean, this cricket was no different. Every inch of its 24-foot body was covered in muscles. I mean, it looked like it worked out every day. So, once I saw the cricket, I was like, okay, I have to do something about this. So I got a rolled up newspaper, like most people do, and I went to try to hit it. But when I did, it grabbed the other end of the newspaper and it hit me back with it. And I was like, okay. The cricket looked at me and then said, you're gonna have to do better than that. So I was like, okay, cricket, I'm gonna get my softball bat. So I went to the garage and I got my bat and I came back. So I got ready and I went to hit the cricket, but at the last second, he moved out of the way and I just ended up hitting my desk. Then he took the other end of the bat and he hit me with it as well, and he said, I thought I told you you're gonna have to do better than that. So at this point, I had broken my face in a few places, I had ruined my desk, I had dented my wall, and mostly I had bruised my ego a lot. So I was like, okay, I have to do something about this, because I was really scared that if I took my eyes off the cricket, he would go somewhere else in my room and pop out when I didn't expect it. I mean, I could only imagine crawling into bed that night, and then he jumps out and he's like, hey girl, you want to have a sleepover? We can do nails and hair. But because I in fact did not want to have a sleepover with this cricket, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to figure this out. I was thinking I could just watch the cricket until my dad got home. But unfortunately, my dad was on a week-long trip to England, so it was gonna be a while before he got back. So I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to figure out something else. So because I did not want to babysit this cricket for a week, I came up with another plan. I was thinking I could just open the window next to my desk and I could maybe nudge it out of the window. So I reached over to try to nudge the cricket out, and he slapped my hand away and he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, you're not getting rid of me that easily. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to figure out something else. So I look to the left of my desk and I see a 24-foot long container perfectly sized for him. What a coincidence. So I convince him to get into it, and then I set it on the ledge of the window and I plead with him to please just leave. I mean, I have school tomorrow, I have things to do, I still have homework to finish. So I was like, I definitely need you to leave. So he looked at me and he was like, well, I mean, I have messed with you enough. And I look back at him and I start to cry a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, you definitely have, because I had to admit to him that I had just gotten terrorized by a 24-foot cricket. So I looked at him and I just pleaded with him to leave. So he looked at me and he said, okay, I'll leave, but joke's on you. So he jumps out the window and I think everything's fine. But then I go to close the window and I look out. And I see the cricket running, and he took my window screen with him. He's clutching the screen in front of him, and he's running with his really long legs to the neighbor's house. So I decided, okay, he's not headed towards me, so I'm just not gonna mess with him. You know, he can keep my window screen. I don't need it anymore. So I closed my window and I went back to doing my homework. Actually, no, I didn't, but I mean, that's a different issue. So after that, I just went to school the next day and everything was fine. So then, a week later, my dad came home. And it was very hard to describe to him that the house was in pieces and I was injured because I got into a fight with a cricket and lost. It was really hard for him to believe, and none of my friends believed me, but I somehow survived and I lived to tell the tale. Thank you.